Hello, everybody. I wanted to cover an article that I saw a few weeks ago, but I haven't seen in any of the alternative media outlets or any of the mainstream media outlets. And it's kind of interesting that nobody's talking about this because it seems newsworthy to me. It's about a pharmaceutical drug company that has transferred rights for its products over to a Native American tribe because they have patent immunity, so to speak. So the pharmaceutical company has transferred their product rights over to this company so that they won't have challenges to their patents, which will add up to billions of dollars for this pharmaceutical company. So I will read a few excerpts from the article, and I'll also leave a link in the description so you can check it out. The article comes from RT, and the name of the article is Sneaky Drug Company Pays Native Americans to Shield Pharma Patent. So, a quote from the article. In a very unusual deal, international pharmaceutical company Allergan announced it had transferred rights for a top-selling eye drug to a Native American tribe in New York in order to avoid challenges to its lucrative patents. Under the deal, the St. Regis Mohawk tribe is expected to receive $13.75 million immediately for holding 6 patents for the dry eye medication Restasis and will receive an annual $15 million royalty for licensing the drug to Allergan as long as the patents remain valid. The tribal council is quoted as saying, "We realize that we cannot depend solely on casino revenues, and in order for us to be self-reliant, we must enter into diverse business sectors to address the chronically unmet needs of the community." So this is an interesting case. Again, not sure why there is radio silence in the media. I guess um, it just didn't rise to the top. We certainly have a lot that's going on at the moment, so I can see why this would be overlooked in favor of some other topics. It's certainly a crazy year. Um, but I thought this would be a great opportunity to just highlight some of the things that I've seen going on as relates to the medical industry, the healthcare industry in the United States, and the pharmaceutical industry. I can't remember exactly what percent of GDP healthcare is at the moment. I think it's 15, 16%, projected to be 17% by 2020. A huge a huge chunk of our GDP. And lately, I've been thinking that there's an industrial medical complex similar to the industrial military complex. And I don't think I'm the only person that's putting that idea out there. So if you watch any videos about the industrial military complex, you might come across this reasoning. And I heard this in a video. I wish I could remember which one it was. I'd give them credit, but they said that we're in wars constantly nowadays, but we're never winning any. And you can apply that same exact logic to the healthcare industry. People are using enormous amounts of healthcare services, but no one's getting healthier. Now, I think that the American healthcare industry is doing a great job of treating acute illnesses. If, heaven forbid, I were ever in an accident or had some sort of traumatic event, I want to be in the United States, that's for sure. Um, and this isn't a wholehearted criticism of the American healthcare industry. Of all the healthcare systems in the world, I want to be using the United States healthcare system. I think it's probably the best. I'm certainly not advocating for socializing the healthcare system. In fact, I would love for us to have a fully private healthcare system. I think that a lot of the issues that we currently have with our healthcare system started in the 70s when CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, got involved in pricing. They set the prices for all of the services that you consume. Most people don't know that. Most people don't know that how heavily involved the government is in setting prices for medical services. I'll save that for another video. But when I criticize the American healthcare system, don't think that it's in favor of socialized medicine, because it isn't. I think that the media has been propagandizing the American public for decades to push for socialized medicine. I remember an instance about 6 or 7 years ago where I was working for a company that thought it would be advantageous to show us a PBS or NPR piece on medicine across the world. And, it showed all of the international socialized medicine systems that were working perfectly. There weren't any problems. Everyone was healthy, and it only cost them $10 to get a simple service. Clearly propaganda. And afterwards, they go around the room and they ask everybody, "So what do you think?" Acting like this was a totally unbiased piece where they showed both sides of the argument equally. Wrong. But a lot of people can't see through that. So they go around the table and ask, what do you think? And of course, everyone is just spouting back, "We should have socialized medicine. Oh, if only America would follow in the footsteps of the other, European nations and Japan and all of this." So they come to me and I say, "No, I think this is the best healthcare system in the world. I don't want to go to any other country to get my healthcare. I want to get my healthcare in the United States." Is it perfect? Of course not. But I think that it's a much better system than any of the nations that we saw in this PR piece for socialism. So, sorry for the rant, but I'm sick of the propaganda around socialized medicine. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I've had enough of it jammed down my throat. Um, but I digress. So this article definitely points to or highlight some issues that we have um, with the healthcare system, with the industrial healthcare complex. Everybody's using more and more healthcare services. Everybody's taking more and more drugs. They're not getting better. The life expectancy is dropping. People are sick as dogs. But this article kind of sheds some light on some shady practices that are going on. One other thing I want to touch on very quickly is the over medication of the American population, maybe the world population. I don't know. I don't know the statistics on what people in the rest of the world are doing and how many drugs are being prescribed, but I certainly think that doctors are over prescribing drugs in the United States. The opioid crisis has done a lot to shed some light on that. We know that the drug companies are culpable for that. Uh, pushing opioids on people. "Oh, your back hurts. Oh, you have a little bit of pain. Here's some drugs." Getting these people hooked on opiates. Unbelievable. And then, of course, the prices go up and up and up. And what's cheaper? And what has the same exact effect? What is the same drug but cheaper? Heroin. Boom. We have a heroin crisis. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Um, but I also want to give a shout out to my favorite documentarian or documentary maker, Louis Theroux. If you're not familiar with his work and you love documentaries, go check out his work. You have about a week's worth of entertainment that I just gave you. If you were bored, Google Louis Theroux. You're welcome. Uh, Louis did an awesome documentary called America's Medicated Kids about 10 years ago, give or take. Um, and it showed both sides of the argument. Why are these doctors prescribing these drugs for kids? And is this a good idea? Let's look at, what the effects are on these children. Personally, I wholeheartedly disagree with medicating children. You're taking a child with a developing brain and you're giving them drugs that chemically alter their brains and the development of their brains. Horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. So wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think that history will not look kindly upon the medication of children and maybe even the medication of adults. I mean, there's certain drugs with horrible side effects. So um, I recommend, if you have any interest in this sort of stuff, I highly recommend Louis Theroux's documentary. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Um, I think that, in coming years, hopefully in my lifetime, people will say, whoops, that was a bad idea. Um, we have we're able to look back now on lobotomies and see that that was a horrible mistake. People 7 years ago thought that a lobotomy was the best way to treat mental illness. Horrible, disgusting. If you don't know about it, plenty of information out there. You can look it up yourself. Disgusting, horrible practice, probably evil. But I think that the medication of children and the probably the med probably the prescription of psychiatric drugs in 9 out of 10 cases in adults is probably also horrible. But check out the documentary by Louis. It's awesome. If you like what you see in that, I highly recommend Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends. He does a host of documentaries in America. He's British, but he came to America and did these awesome, relatively short documentaries and spoke with all these controversial people and did all of this fun, wacky stuff. He's a great documentarian. So highly recommend his stuff. I'll leave a link to the article about this pharmaceutical company and the Native American tribe in my description. I'll also leave a link to the America's Medicated Kids documentary. Um, just interesting stuff to think about. So thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you later.